Hey Glitchers, I am Miranda. With me, I've got Mr. Harrison here. He's going to be reviewing a game that I don't know anything about. It takes place in a castle somewhere. I don't know, you should probably pick it up from here.
It's called, we're going to be looking at Castle of SHIkIGAMI.
SHIkIGAMI.
This is a game that's just been released on Steam, and it's going to be a shoot-'em-up style game. Came out of Japan, typically has a cult following behind it. There's actually been 2 or 3 games already in the series.
Oh.
But really, we should probably get into a little bit of the history of this.
Okay.
So this game was released back in about 2001 in Japan in the arcades. Then it came out to the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox back in about 2002. What ended up happening, though, with all this is it got ported to the States as a different game name, if you believe that.
Mobile Light Force?
Mobile Light Force 2.
Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I know, it's totally unrelated to the first one, but this is how it was presented to the States initially. Now, we're talking about a game that was in the States back in 2002, 2003, coming to Steam, being remastered here in 2017.
As Castle Shika.
As Castle SHIkIGAMI underneath its original name.
Castle Shenmue.
Castle Shenmue, whatever. But
Shenmue is another game, actually.
This game is about $12. And
only on Steam?
Only on Steam.
Okay. For
$12. But, you know, it's with like any older game, there's going to be a few issues with it. So this thing has had some porting problems. One of the things I noticed is when I went in here and I had to go to my input settings, because there is actually a co-op mode, because it's an arcade shoot 'em up top down. But when I went to the gamepad, I actually had to remap it off the gamepad, and this is how it actually looked on my screen when I first pulled it up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it took over the second screen entirely. It didn't keep the one screen. And on top of all this, using the directional pad versus the joystick nowadays was very odd, but you can also use the keyboard. And overall, it has that look of being, you know, something from 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, very arcade feel to it.
Very arcade feel, yes. But that's not bad, you know. A lot of shoot 'em up games people like, and if you like that style game, you may end up liking this to take a look at, especially if you're a fan of the series. Well,
is there much story going
there
on?
Is some story, and we'll get into like the characters here also while we're talking about the story. So there's these 6 characters you kind of play as, and they are all basically ghost hunters. Essentially is what's going on. So they're investigating paranormal crimes for a string of murders in 2005, and they all kind of fly through the screen, and they all have little stories with them. That's what's weird. Like this one's a witch here, and the next one here is going to be a priest, and then we end up having a mystery character at the end. But they all end up having their own little stories as they go through this arcade game. That's essentially what Castle of SHIkIGAMI is. It's an arcade game.
Meets like Arkham Horror.
Kind of, yeah. It's you know, it's Japanese, so they're going to have little cutscenes and little slide-ins and slide-outs of the characters. But we're going to see that here when we talk about the gameplay here. Now, in this game, like I said, very arcadey, and so you're flying around. And what's interesting for this is the shoot 'em up is it has that whole, you know, you try to get near the bullets, and that way it basically raises your quote-unquote tension. And you're going to end up seeing I'm going to end up dying a lot during this. But that's one of the things, you know, it happens with the original arcade games. So you're supposed to actually try to get near bullets. You have special attacks. And on top of it, when you use your bomb, it makes you invincible for a moment. And this character here, being a private investigator, turns into a werewolf.
Oh,
but
of course.
Yeah, you're going to be fighting paranormal creatures, all sorts of weird things throughout the levels. There's about 5 levels. How they end up going in the stages is you have your first stage, then it goes to a boss, then your second stage is straight boss battle, and then it goes back into the third stage where you have creatures coming up to the boss. And every time you hit a boss, you go through this little storyline like this as you progress through the game. So, something about when the Japanese make games, they got to have their story to go with it. And try to tie it in somehow.
Oh, those silly developers.
Yeah, those silly developers.
So do characters level up or anything, or do you just sort of you infer their story, but you have to play through all the characters to get through the game? Or?
So you infer their story and you just kind of play through the game. Each one has a slightly different one, and then you have like hard modes and everything like that. There's no real leveling up per se, except for a little bit in a shooter where if you manage to stay alive long enough, your shooting power levels up some, so that way it gets a bigger spray on the screen.
Okay.
But it was a neat concept in the day when it came out. And that's what makes it interesting, is it was one of the first ones that had a bullet shooter that you were supposed to get rewarded for getting close to the bullets without actually touching them. Kind of like I was talking about on Drifting Lands for one of the ships.
Okay.
But as you can see, the graphics are relatively dated because it's 15 years old. You know, it's one of the first times where you saw 2D and 3D try to come together with a low poly count and everything. The game has got kind of mixed reviews and whatnot. It's very, very short. It's a game that you get through because it's an arcade game in under an hour. And you're supposed to originally plink coins into it. So while there's Steam achievements and everything else, for $12, not something I would exactly go out and buy, especially since a lot of people probably picked it up on the older consoles. But if you're a fan of the series, you have the ability to get it again. And there's a Steam sale coming up during the summer that might be the actual time to look at purchasing it if you like this sort of game. And as long as they get rid of some of the graphical glitches, like with taking over a second screen, it'll be a little bit better. It didn't hold it back too much, but you can see that the port was kind of lackadaisical at best.
And no multiplayer option.
No, but there is local co-op.
Local co-op.
So you can at least play it with a friend. That's always a plus when these type of arcade games, when you're doing a shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
But that's been the Castle of SHIkIGAMI. Pick it up on Steam.
Enjoy Castle Shamu. If you want to pick that up, wait for the Steam sale over the summer. Any other thoughts on it?
No other thoughts?
I don't know what they're laughing at. I pronounced it just fine.
You know, Shinigami, SHIkIGAMI, shoot 'em up. It's all in a castle, flying around.
It's true. That's it. So, alright, well, let us know what you think of the game. If you've played it, definitely leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're still trying to make it to 5,000 subscribers. And if you check on the little bell somewhere below the video, you will be notified whenever Media Glitch does upload these fantastic reviews, such as Castle SHIkIGAMI.
Castle SHIkIGAMI. Yes.
So, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.